left him on red for days, he left me for good. Okay, so I'm typing this at 3 a.m. because I can't sleep and I'm pretty sure I'm losing my mind. I keep replaying the same conversation over and over in my head and it's driving me crazy. I did something so stupid that I literally can't believe it even happened. My name's Jessica, female 25, and 3 weeks ago, the best guy I've ever dated told me he never wants to see me again. And before you start feeling sorry for me, just know that I 100% deserved it and probably worse. This isn't one of those stories where I'm going to make myself look good or try to get sympathy. I messed up so badly that I'm still shocked at my own behavior. Like, who even does what I did? Apparently me, that's who. His name was David, male, 27. He was working in software development and had these kind eyes that always made me feel like I was the only person in the room. We met at a mutual friend's party about 2 years ago and started dating pretty much immediately. David was the kind of guy who actually had his life together. Good job, nice apartment. He'd show up to pick me up for dates on time, dressed nicely with actual plans instead of just, I don't know, what do you want to do? And here's where I reveal what a complete idiot I am. Instead of being grateful for finding someone reliable and caring, I thought it was boring. My brain somehow decided that being treated well meant he wasn't exciting enough for me. Like I needed drama and uncertainty to feel like the relationship mattered. He'd text me throughout the day just to check in. Stuff like, I hope your presentation went well today, or saw this meme and thought you'd laugh. Normal boyfriend communication that showed he was thinking about me. But instead of appreciating it, I started getting annoyed. I'd show his texts to my friends and complain about how clingy he was being. They'd laugh and agree that he seemed too desperate. We were all wrong, but I was too immature to see it then. Looking back now, David could probably sense that I wasn't fully invested. Instead of talking to me about it or getting jealous like other guys might have, he just doubled down on being thoughtful. More surprise coffee deliveries, more weekend plans, more effort in general. But my twisted brain took his increased effort as desperation once again. I thought if he was trying so hard, it meant he knew he wasn't good enough for me. How backwards is that logic? There was this 1 week where work was absolutely destroying me. I had 3 major deadlines and my boss was being a complete nightmare. I was stressed out of my mind and complaining about it constantly. David showed up at my apartment that Friday night with my favorite Thai food, a bottle of wine, and said he was going to run me a bath, and then we could watch whatever stupid reality show I wanted while he rubbed my feet. Any normal girlfriend would have melted. This sweet man was trying to take care of me when I was falling apart. But I was annoyed. I actually rolled my eyes and said, "You don't have to baby me, David. I'm fine." The hurt look on his face should have been a wake-up call, but I was too selfish to pay attention to anyone's feelings but my own. That's when the whole texting thing started getting really bad. David would send me these long, thoughtful messages throughout the day, updates about his life, asking about mine, sharing funny things that happened to him, telling me he missed me. Real relationship communication from someone who actually cared about staying connected. And I started leaving him on read, not accidentally, but on purpose. I would read his messages immediately because I was always on my phone, but then I just wouldn't respond. For hours sometimes, then it turned into days. He would send me something sweet in the morning and I wouldn't reply until the next afternoon. Just a short LOL or yeah with no follow-up questions or engagement. I told myself I was just busy, but that wasn't true. I was on social media constantly, texting other people, responding to group chats immediately. I was only ignoring David because some sick part of me wanted to see how much he would tolerate. I wanted to test his limits and see if I could push him to the point where he would finally get angry or jealous or possessive. I wanted him to fight for me in some dramatic way so I could feel like he really cared. But David wasn't that kind of person. He never got angry or demanding. He would just send follow-up messages asking if everything was okay or if he had done something wrong. "Hey babe, haven't heard from you today. Hope work isn't too crazy. Love you." "Did I say something that upset you? You seem distant lately. Want to talk about it?" "Missing you. Let me know when you're free this weekend." These incredibly patient, loving messages from someone who was clearly confused about why his girlfriend was suddenly treating him like he didn't exist. And I would screenshot those too and send them to my friends complaining about how weird he was being, how I was getting the ick from him. My friend Kayla actually called me out on it one time. She said David was literally just trying to communicate with me like a normal boyfriend, so why was I being so mean to him? But I ignored her and told her that she didn't understand our dynamic. The truth was, I was getting attention from other guys at work and on dating apps that I never deleted. Nothing serious, just flirting and validation seeking. But it was making me feel like maybe I could do better than David. Maybe I deserved someone more exciting. Someone who made more money, or was more conventionally attractive, or had a more interesting personality. David was just this genuinely good person who loved me exactly as I was. But I convinced myself that meant he had low standards, not that I was lucky. The breaking point came on a Thursday in October. David had texted me that morning asking if I wanted to go to dinner that weekend at this new restaurant I'd mentioned wanting to try. It was such a simple, normal boyfriend request. He remembered something I said I was interested in and wanted to plan a nice date for us. I read the message at 9:15 a.m. and just didn't respond. He texted again around lunch. "Hey, just wanted to make sure you saw my message about dinner this weekend. Let me know what day works better for you." Didn't respond to that either. Then at 6 p.m., "Babe, starting to worry I did something wrong. Can you just let me know you're okay?" Still nothing from me. The next morning, "Jessica, this is really unlike you. Can we please talk? I'm confused about what's happening." I was reading every single message immediately and just choosing not to reply. For absolutely no reason except that I felt like being cruel. By Sunday, he had sent maybe 15 to 20 messages in total over 4 days. Not angry or anything like that. Just increasingly worried ones from someone who loved me and couldn't understand why I was suddenly treating him like he was invisible. He even called me multiple times, but obviously I didn't pick those up as well. The last message he sent was on Sunday night. "I don't know what I did wrong, but I'm sorry. I love you, and I'm here whenever you're ready to talk." I read that message and felt this weird satisfaction, like I had won some game I didn't even know we were playing. Monday morning, I woke up planning to finally text him back. Maybe suggest dinner later in the week like nothing had happened. I figured he would just be happy to hear from me and we could go back to normal. But when I opened my phone, there was a message from David that had been sent at 2 a.m. "Jessica, I've been doing a lot of thinking over the past few days. I realize now that you've been trying to tell me something without actually saying it. Your silence has been very clear communication about how you feel about me in this relationship. I want you to know that I understand now and I'm not going to keep bothering you. I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for. Take care of yourself." That was it. No anger, no insults, no dramatic breakup speech. Just quiet dignity and a clear boundary. I panicked immediately. I mean, this wasn't the first time I had ignored him for days. But he had never stepped back like this. I wanted him to fight for me, not give up completely. I called him right away, but it went straight to voicemail. I tried again an hour later. Same thing. Then I sent a bunch of texts. "David, what are you talking about? I was just busy with work. Can we please talk about this?" "I don't understand why you're being so dramatic. I was going to text you back." "You're seriously going to throw away 2 years over some missed texts?" No response to any of them. I tried calling again that evening, and his phone was still going to voicemail. But this time, the outgoing message had changed. Instead of his usual friendly greeting, it just said, "You've reached David. If this is Jessica, please don't leave a message. Everyone else, I'll get back to you soon." He had literally programmed his phone to reject communication from me specifically. That's when it really hit me what I had done. I had pushed this patient, loving man to the point where he felt like he had to protect himself from me. I had been so cruel and dismissive that he was now screening his calls to avoid hearing from his girlfriend of 2 years. I drove to his apartment that night and buzzed his intercom. He answered, but when I said it was me, he just told me to leave and that we were done, and hung up. I stood outside his building for 2 hours hoping he would come down to talk to me. He never did. The next few weeks were absolute hell. I tried everything to get his attention, showed up at his work, sent flowers to his office, wrote long emails explaining myself. Nothing worked. David had completely cut me out of his life. His friends blocked me on social media. His coworkers were told not to give me information about him. This man who had spent 2 years trying to get closer to me was now putting maximum distance between us, and it was entirely my fault. I started asking mutual friends to help me reach out to him. They all said the same thing. David told them what happened, and they understood why he didn't want to talk to me. Apparently, he had explained to people that I had been ignoring him for days at a time and treating him like he was bothering me by trying to communicate. That he finally realized I didn't want to be with him and he was respecting my wishes by leaving me alone. He wasn't telling people I was a terrible person or trying to turn them against me. He was just honestly explaining what had happened and why he felt like he needed to walk away, which somehow made me feel even worse about myself. 2 months after our breakup, I saw David at a coffee shop downtown. My heart literally stopped when I spotted him in line. He looked good, really good, like he had been working out more and taking better care of himself. There was something lighter about his whole energy, like a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. I finally gathered the courage to stop him as he was leaving, desperate for just a few minutes to talk. "David, please, can we just talk for 5 minutes?" He listened quietly, his expression calm and not showing anger or hurt, just a kind of polite distance. I tried to explain that I had made a mistake, that fear had made me push him away, but he reminded me that this wasn't the first time I had ignored him for days. In the past, he had always waited, but this time, he had decided to listen to what my actions were telling him. He made it clear that while I might have loved him, I hadn't respected him, and he deserved someone who could give him both. I begged for another chance, promising I would do better, but he said he wasn't willing to be in a practice relationship while I learned how to treat someone right. He told me that for 2 years, he had given me his time, attention, loyalty, and love, but I had taken it for granted and treated his efforts like they were meaningless. Even though I now realized how good he had been to me, he said my growth didn't entitle me to another chance, and that he hoped I would use the lesson to treat the next person better. And then he walked away. No dramatic exit, no cruel parting shot, just a clear boundary from someone who had finally learned to value himself. That was 8 months ago, and I haven't seen or spoken to him since. I remember one night we were supposed to go to dinner, and he texted me that afternoon to confirm the time and place. Such a normal, considerate thing to do. Making sure we were on the same page so neither of us would be confused or left waiting. I read the message at 2 p.m. and just didn't reply. No reason or any emergency. I just wanted to see what would happen if I didn't give him the courtesy of a response. By 5 p.m., he reached out again to confirm our plans for that night, asking if he should pick me up at 7. I still didn't answer. At 6:30, he messaged once more, letting me know he was getting ready to leave and checking if dinner was still happening. I finally replied 15 minutes later, brushing him off with an excuse about needing to reschedule because something came up. I was literally just sitting on my couch watching Netflix and eating chips, but I made him think I had some important work that was stopping me from seeing him. He immediately responded with concern, asking if I was okay. Even when I was being flaky and inconsiderate, his first reaction was to ask whether I was all right. Not frustration that I'd wasted his time or left him hanging for hours, just genuine worry about my well-being. I lied again, telling him it was work-related, and he calmly told me to let him know when I was free so we could make new plans. Patient and understanding as always, ready to work around my schedule and make things easy for me. I didn't text him back for 3 days after that, just left him wondering when he'd hear from me next and whether I actually wanted to see him at all. When I finally did reach out, it was like nothing had happened. He was warm and happy to hear from me, immediately suggesting a few different options for getting together. No guilt trips or passive-aggressive comments about my disappearing act. I should have been ashamed of how I was treating him. Instead, I was annoyed that he wasn't calling me out on my bad behavior. I wanted him to get angry so I could feel justified in thinking he wasn't as perfect as he seemed. But David never took the bait. He just kept being kind and patient and hoping I would eventually match his energy. The really messed up thing is that I knew exactly what I was doing. This wasn't some unconscious pattern or accidental behavior. I was intentionally acting like this to test his limits and see how much disrespect he would tolerate. I was treating our relationship like a game where the goal was to see who cared less, and I was determined to win. Sometimes I would draft responses to his messages and then delete them without sending, just to prove to myself that I could choose not to reply. Like it was some kind of power move to leave someone hanging who genuinely cared about me. I think he started to see a bit of the real me after I ruined a really sweet moment between us. David had been working on this big project at work for months, something about developing new software for his company that could potentially save them a lot of money. He'd mentioned it for some time, but I never really listened because I found his job boring. He had talked about this project before, but I never paid much attention because I considered his job boring. The night before his big presentation to the executives, he called me, clearly nervous, yet excited, and asked if he could run through his pitch one last time. It was one of the rare moments where he openly showed vulnerability, reaching out for my support because he was feeling nervous about something deeply important to him. I agreed, but instead of giving him my full attention, I scrolled through Instagram as he spoke. He launched into explaining his project, and I literally was not listening at all, just making occasional sounds while looking at other people's photos and stories. After about 10 minutes, he stopped talking, and there was silence. He asked me if I was listening, but I was so distracted that I said his work was just hard to follow, even though that wasn't true. He was actually very good at explaining things. The truth was, I simply didn't think it was worth my focus. I could hear the disappointment in his voice. This person who never asked for much from me, just wanting me to pay attention for a few minutes when he was nervous. But instead of making an effort, I brushed it off, ended the call early, and automatically told him I loved him while still staring at someone else's vacation photos. He hung up, and I immediately forgot about the conversation. Went to sleep without giving a second thought to the fact that the man I supposedly loved was nervous about something important, and I'd been too selfish to offer him even basic emotional support. The evening after his presentation, he sent me a message saying the presentation went amazingly well and that the executives loved his project so much that they wanted to implement it across the company. It was probably one of the biggest professional wins of his career so far, something he had worked toward for months, and he wanted to share that joy with me. But I read the message and didn't reply. I mean, what kind of person doesn't even bother saying congratulations? A few hours later, he asked if I wanted to go out the next night to celebrate, suggesting somewhere nice for dinner. I still ignored him. The following day, he checked in again, asking if everything was okay since he hadn't heard from me since before the presentation. I was reading every message but choosing not to reply. Watching him go from excitement about his success to confusion about my silence, to worry that something was wrong. On the third day, he called. I declined the call, only to receive a message saying he was starting to get really worried and just wanted to know I was all right. That's when I finally replied with a lie about being busy with work. He immediately texted me back, telling me he had been imagining worst-case scenarios, and then shifted the conversation to asking about my week. Even after I had ignored his big moment for days, he showed no anger or frustration, only genuine interest in spending time together. I brushed him off again, saying maybe over the weekend. He ended the conversation by telling me he loved me and was glad I was okay, and I didn't even say it back. Looking back, that was probably the moment David started to see me clearly. Not the fantasy version of me that he'd fallen in love with, but the actual selfish, cold person I was choosing to be. But he still didn't give up on me, still kept reaching out and trying to maintain our connection, even though I was making it as difficult as possible. Through mutual friends, I found out that David started dating someone new about 4 months after we broke up. Her name is Rachel, and apparently she's amazing. Works as a veterinarian, volunteers with rescue dogs on weekends, has this warm laugh that lights up every room she enters. I've seen pictures of them together on social media, and David looks happier than I ever saw him during our entire relationship. More relaxed, more confident, completely at peace. Rachel comments on all his posts with these sweet, supportive messages. She shares pictures of them hiking together and cooking together and spending holidays with each other's families. I'm so jealous that she gets to experience all of this with him. I mean, just last month, David posted a picture of them at some work event of his. Rachel was wearing this beautiful blue dress and gazing at him with complete adoration while he was laughing at something off camera. The caption just said grateful for this one with a heart emoji. But what destroyed me was reading the comments. All of David's friends and family members commenting about how happy they were to see him with someone who treats him the way he deserves and how Rachel was perfect for him. His mom commented, "Finally found your person, sweetheart," with a bunch of heart emojis. These people had watched David go through our relationship, and apparently they could all see what I was too selfish to notice. that he was giving everything to someone who didn't appreciate him at all. Now they get to watch him be genuinely happy with someone who recognizes what an incredible man he is. I started therapy about 3 months ago because I was having panic attacks every time I saw couples being affectionate in public. I wasn't sleeping much. I'd crash for maybe 3 hours, wake up sweating, heart pounding. My therapist said it was anxiety, but I knew it was withdrawal. David had been my constant hit of validation, and I'd cut myself off cold turkey. I started texting other guys more. Not because I liked them, I didn't, but because I needed to feel like I could still get attention. They'd say you're gorgeous, or I'd love to take you out, and I'd feel a tiny spark of control again. But the second the messages stopped, I'd spiral right back down. I mean, how do you move forward when you know you destroyed the best thing that ever happened to you through your own cruelty and selfishness? In our last session, my therapist said I have attachment issues and was sabotaging the relationship because I was afraid David would eventually leave me anyway. So I rejected him first by treating him terribly. Maybe that's true, but understanding why I did it doesn't make David any less gone or make me feel any less guilty about what I put him through. Maybe this is the punishment I deserve, coming here and ranting to a bunch of strangers about what a horrible person I am instead of being in his arms.